We are on Daf Yomi and Beis on the bottom. Let us start from Reb Meir. We're about, 10 lines from the bottom, 12 lines from the bottom, maybe. The last word on the line is V'Rebbe, Meir. Yeah? You got it, Reb Shmuel?
Yeah.
Okay. Reb Meir, the Gemara said before that the we learn out, according to the Rabbanon, that the din Torah has to be by day because it says b'yom henchiles panav. We also learned out that it could be v'shavta asam b'chol eis, could be any time. And the Gemara says that means that you start by day, but you can finish by night, but dinim amanis. But Reb Meir doesn't hold of that. Reb Meir holds that even dinim amanis has to be by day. So what does Reb Meir, and he learns that out from the hekesh of Riv to Nega, dinei Torah to Negan. So what does Reb Meir do with the pasuk of v'hay b'yom henchiles panav? And for the Gemara, hahu mibai le'chadetani Rabbi Bar Chanina kamid Rav Nachman. He needs that for the following limud. The Rabbi Bar Chanina learned in front of Rav Nachman. It says v'hay b'yom henchiles panav b'yom atam apal nachlas v'yatam apal nachlas b'layla. You could only give nachlas over, in other words, only do a Yerusha by day and not by night. Amar lei Abaye said right away back, somebody dies during the day, his kids will yarshin from him. Somebody dies during the night, his kids won't yarshin from him. Why?
Next day he'll yarshin.
No. The Havamina is, the way it said it was,
if you don't do it by day, then it's whole
that it only could happen, Yerusha could only happen by day. Right? That doesn't make any sense. Dilma, maybe din nachlas kamret. Maybe you don't mean the actual Yerusha, but the din of Yerusha. What does it mean, the din of Yerusha? The Gemara is going to explain. The Tanya, and this is Abaye speaking. The Tanya, Abaye says, we learned in a Brisa, it says that it should be for the Bnei Yisrael chukas mishpat. The pasuk says a bunch of psukim about the halachas of Yerusha, and then it finishes off with saying that these halachas of Yerusha should be l'chukas mishpat, the halachas of being shefet, of shefet is a judgment, a din Torah, right? What's going on? Din. It finishes off the whole parsha of Yerusha to be a din. Could Rav Yehuda Marav, like Yehuda in the name of Rav. So in other words, this Brisa, first the Brisa says, it finishes off, the Brisa notes that the Yerusha is learned out, the Torah associates that with din. And then the Rabbi Yehuda Marav explains, Rabbi Yehuda Marav explains, three people came in to visit a chayla, to visit him because he was sick. Now he's on his deathbed, and he came and he starts saying, this should go to Yankel, my son, this should go to Beryl, my son, and so on and so forth. So the halach is that, and there are three of them, right? So they ratzu kaisvin, ratzu eisen din. If they want, they could write down, came into the deathbed, the room of the person who was dying, and he said to us three, he said, do this and do this, do this, and they could act like a bezdin by writing down what should be, or they could just, they could just say, there could be the sons themselves. Okay, Yankel, Tati said to give you this, so you get this, and Beryl, right? You don't have to go, what we call that, you don't have to go to probate court.
He's just sick. Doesn't say he's
right.
There's a full that he has.
But or even if he is a shchimra, you don't have to go to the Torah to decide what he said and what the halacha is and so on.
There.
Right? They could just, and we're not even talking about the dayanim. These are regular three people, but we consider it like a din. Shnayim, kaisvin ve'enaisin din. But if it was just two people there, they write it down like edim, but they can't do a din. They can't make the halacha and say we're paskening. This is like this and this is like this. They don't have that status because they're not three. The Amar of Chista.
Who gets what? It's not a real shiloh. That's the decide who gets what. Reuven Shimon Levi gets Aminashin.
He says, let's say my biggest karka should go to Yankel. Now they have to figure out what the biggest karka is, right?
In Jersey.
Okay. So V'amar Rav Chisda, and Rav Chisda says this halacha that we just said from Rabbi Yehuda Marav, Lo Yishanu Ela B'Yom. That's only by day. Avalayla at night, even 3 kaisvin, they have to write what's going on, and they can't do a din. And because they're Adim, the Ain Aid Nasa Dayan. Because at night you can't be a Dayan because you don't do dinim at night.
The Shechimah has a hold of morgen at night. By day.
Is a halacha just plain.
That's
but now we're talking about, he said it. Now, how do we carry that out? How do we fulfill that? How do we would call that today executor, right? There's an executor of the will. How do you execute it? So the Gemara is saying that if you have 3, those 3 could be the executors, right? But if you only have 2, they can't. They could just be the witnesses and write down what happened. And Rav Chisda is saying that even if there's
what?
You
have to trust them also. You write them whatever they want.
Of course, that would
They
change.
gave it to me.
If it's one, we don't. If it's one, we wouldn't trust them, right? But Rav Chisda is saying that even if you had 3, this halacha that they can be executors doesn't apply unless it's during the day,
not by night.
because a bezdin is only during the day. And
By day also.
right. So this whole thing that Abaye is saying back is Abaye is saying to no problem. Abaye is saying maybe you were talking about the din of nachlas. That nachlas should have the fact that it could be considered like a din Torah, right? And it has the same similar halachas. Amar lei. So Rava Bar Chanina said back to Abaya, you're right, yes, hachikam, this is what I meant to say. He's saying I phrased it wrong, but this is the halacha. I was trying to say that the halacha applies all the way at the beginning when he said, is is that if you have 3 people there and it's night, they don't have the halacha of being able to pass in the din. They can only have the halacha of Edom. And even if you have 3, right? And going back to Rameir, that's where Rameir learns out from the pasuk of Vaya B'Yom Hanchili Espanav. Okay. We're considering them like Dayan. Like a Dayan.
We're against this, Shem gets this. So the Aiden, what are you adjusting over here? Not the.
The Gemara is learning out from the pasuk of V'Yisrael b'nei Yisrael chukas mishpat, right? Which is said, that pasuk of chukas mishpat, of shofet, the lashon of judging, the lashon of dayanos, that says by nachlas, which is out of place because pashtas nachlas is not dayanos. The Torah is learning it. The Torah is teaching us. Rameir holds that you see that there is an aspect of dayanos in every nachla. Okay. Zak the Gemara weiter. The Gemara quotes the Mishnah, Dina nefashis done b'yom b'chulu. We said Dina nefashis, you judge in the day, and you could only be gomer it in the day, right?
By day.
Only in the day, right? In fact, the Gemara Menani Mili, how do you know this? Rav Simi Bar Chia, Amar Kra, Rav Simi Bar Chia says we have a pasuk, V'haika Eisim Lashem Neged Hashemash. This is talking about the people who were nichshal in the Avir of Baal Pa'ar in Parashas Balak, and the Rebbeinu Shalom said to Moshe, go hang them, haikaisim, to hang them neged Hashemesh in front of the sun. You see that when when Bezdin kills somebody, it has to be neged Hashemesh during the day. Amar Rav Chisda, nine like kashi tliya. How do we know? I translated vahika because tliya because I saw the Gemara ahead. Rav Chisda says to us, how do you know haika is tliya? How do you know what it means? The ksiv haikanam lashem begiva shaul b'cher Hashem. We'll hang them up in front of Shaul the b'cher Hashem. We still don't know what haika means. This is talking about the case of the Gevainim. Shaul Melech killed the Gevainim, and the Rebbeinu Shalom and the Klal Yisrael got a famine as an einish for that. And the Rebbeinu Shalom said to David, they asked to make it right. And David went to the Gevainim and said, "What was the story?" And so I think the pasuk said, "Shaul val beis hadamim," and they said, these are the people who deserve to die." Shaul Gershon, and the pasuk says. They said, hang them, haikanim l'Hashem, be haika them to Hashem, begive a sha'ol l'cher Hashem. Uksiv, and the pasuk says later on, vatikach Ritzvah bas Aya as a sack. Ritzvah bas Aya was one of Shaul HaMelech's Pilagshem. She took a sack, but tateu la latzur b'tchilas k'tzir, and she put it. She pitched it like a tent, sort of, to be like an awning on the rock where their bodies were displayed. Because it's here in the beginning of the harvest, and the pasuk says that she stayed there watching to make sure that no animals would come on to the bodies during that time. They shouldn't be multiple b'sayin. But you see from the fact that she had to do that, that means that the bodies were out in the open. And that's how we know that means hanging. And when it says hanging, it doesn't necessarily mean, I think the Gemara later on is going to talk about exactly how hanging is, later on, not in today's daf, but later on in the Masechta, but it doesn't mean hanging like we're used to, with a rope and a noose around the person's neck. Zaktimar Vaiter. Ksiv, it says in the pasuk, this is really a new Gemara. There's some gersais on the side that say ksiv instead of unksiv. Vayemer Hashem al Moshe, Hashem said to Moshe, Kachas kol rashi ha'am, take all the leaders of the people, v'hoika oisam, and hang them. That's the next words in the pasuk. It says, this is also by the pasuk Bal Pa'ar. Kachas kol rashi ha'am, v'hoika oisam Hashem neged Hashemesh, and hang them up in front of Hashem, in front of the sun. If the people didn't avera Rashi Amachatu, what was the avera of the Rashi Am? I'm Rav Yehuda Marav. Why are they getting punished? I'm Rav Yehuda Marav. Rav Yehuda said, "Name Rav." Hashem said to Moshe, "Chalek lahem batei make for them batei dinim." And you read the pasuk like this. Rashi explains. Vayemer Hashem al Moshe, Kachas kol Rashi Am. Hashem said to Moshe, "Take all the Rashi Am, make them into Rashi Am in the sense of make a bunch of batei dinim, and once you make a bunch of batei dinim, v'haikel Hashem, go and hang the people that the Bezdin judges, not the Rashi Am themselves.
Why is there Rashi Am?
It's talking about the Rashi Am. Each one of them will make their own Bezdin. Take all the Rashi Am, and then judge the people and hang the people up. So
in one day.
What?
In one day.
In one day. In fact, the Gemara on my timer, why did they have to do that? In other words, why didn't you just use one Bezdin? If it's because one Bezdin doesn't judge two people in one day. Because if you judge two people in one day, you're going to get mixed up in the halacha, and maybe you'll come to be mechayev somebody who shouldn't have been mechayev, or exonerate somebody who shouldn't have been pater, and because you mixed up. First you're thinking about the dinim of, biznus on one day, and when at 3 o'clock, and then you have to think about the dinim of Avodah Zarah at 4 o'clock, and then at 5 o'clock you have to think about the dinim of Amir Nidachas. It's going to get confusing. You might make a mistake. So you don't do two misas in one day. Dr. Gemara, it's not so. That's only if it's two different misas. I don't know, skila and treifa. Misa achas, in one misa, and Rashi explains that it's one misa with one avera, so it's with the same halachas, then done it. Then you do judge even multiple ones in a day. So you could have had one Bezdin and just judging. It would be a demonstration to the Rebbeinu Shalom how bad it was that Klal Yisrael recognized how bad that Avera was and how they need to be misakin for it, and then Hashem will take the Magefa away from Klal Yisrael. Okay, Zaktimar Vayt.
That's why they had two more.
That's why they had multiple batei dinim, right? Dinim mamnis koim do'yayim chulu. The pasuk says that dinei mamnis you finish that day, whether it's l'schos or l'chiyav. But dinei nefashis, if it's l'schos, you finish that day. If it's l'chiyav, you have to wait overnight to think about it. Halana sadin, you have to think about it overnight before you're mechayev the guy the next day. Manan, really, how do you know this? Rab Chanina says there's a gersa on the side. Rab Chama Bar Chanina says. The Amar Kra, the pasuk says, "Milesi mishpat tzedek yolimba v'atem ratzchem." This pasuk is talking about Yishai is talking about Yerushalayim. Milesi mishpat, I was full of the mishpat tzedek yolimba, but I let the tzedek. What? One more time. Lodged in.
Righteous ones lodged in, but now murdered.
Okay. I let it.
Overnighted.
I let it. Milesi mishpat. When I was full of mishpat, tzedek yolanba, I would let the tzedek, the din, overnight. But va'ata, now we're not doing that anymore. Meratzchim, and we're just killing people. In other words, you kill somebody on that day, and you don't let the din stay overnight. That is halana sadin. That's a bad thing. You're not allowed to do that. Rava says from the following pasuk. It's also a pasuk in Yeshaya. It says, "Ashru chametz." You should encourage. He says. Okay, chametz is the person who's impressed. So. Ashru dayin shemchametz es dinai. You should praise the dayin who lets his din stay delayed, like chametz. It gets delayed overnight. It like rises. V'idach ashru chametz v'lo chametz. The other man, the Rab Chanina says it's telling you that you're mechazik the nigzal and not the gezel. In other words, when you have it in Torah, who do you deal with first? So you have, let's say, a case of a mashkin, right? A halva. Reuven says he lent Shimon $100. Shimon says, and he has a mashkin. And Shimon says, no, I don't owe it to him. So first you deal with the main case, which is whether or not Reuven owes Shimon the money. And then you deal with the mashkin. V'idach, hai milesi mishpat mayavidlei. What do you do with the pasuk milesi mishpat? You'd use it for Rabbi Lazar, Amrab Yitzchak. Amrab Lazar, Amrab Yitzchak. Kol tainish shemalinin bayes tzedakah, milesi mishpat tzedek yalin ba. If I leave the tzedakah overnight, I don't pay tzedakah at the end of a tainis. Ki'ilu shefech damim. We already had this Gemara in Brachas way back when, not you and I, but you guys learned it way back when, all the way at the beginning of Daf Yomi, a couple of years ago. The pasuk said, the Gemara says that the main schar you get for a tainis, Igrut Tainisa Tzidkasa. The main schar you get for a tainis is that at the end of the tainis you give tzedakah to the aniyim, and they could use that to buy food, or they could use that for food. You give them food straight, and therefore that's the schar that you get for a tainis.
Nowadays, we don't have a name seen on the floor.
Right. So we'll see. Hold that thought. You're going to see the answer in a second. So kol tainis shemalin bayis tzedakah kil shefech damim. If you let the tainis go overnight and you don't give the aniyim tzedakah that night of the tainis, it's like you're being shefech dam, you're murdering somebody. You're letting the tzedakah, you're letting that overnight. That's when the money that you give for tzedakah in that place is generally you give bread and dates. In other words, something they can eat right then. So they're being samech on that. These aniyim have no money, no food, no nothing, and they know they're going to come to shul at the end of the time for Meirav, and on the way out, the uncle's going to give him a loaf of bread from his bakery, and Beryl's going to give him Shenering, and Beryl's going to give him dates from his orchard, and it'll be good. Right? But if in those places the minig is that you give the aniyim money, barley or wheat or barley, so that means they either have to go buy it or they have to go and bake it and knead it and bake it and make it into bread. So they're not relying on that to eat right after the tainis.
Ready meal.
Right. Then less lamba. Then you don't have to worry about it in such a place.
It's not a problem nowadays.
Exactly. So the Mishnah continues, L'fichach in dan in chulu, because you don't do you can't finish the din that day. If it's chayiv, you have to wait overnight. The Mishnah says, therefore, L'fichach in dan in loy be'erev Shabbos loy be'erev Yom Tif. You don't do a din Torah of din and nefashas on erev Shabbos or erev Yom Tif. Track the Gemara. My time. Why not? Because you can't. There's no way you can make it work. How should you do it? Should you start, if you start the din Torah on Friday and you finish the din Torah on Friday and you say, okay, it's fine, I finished before Shabbos. No, maybe not. Maybe you'll see a reason for chayva. You'll see maybe the guy should be chayiv misa. And now, like we said in the Gemara before, you have to sleep on it. You have to sleep on it to see if you can come up with a reason to be pater him. So you can't do it Friday and finish Friday. To let him to do the din Torah on erev Shabbos and finish it on Shabbos, and to kill him on Shabbos also. Because he's chayiv misa right then.
It's convicted to kill him right away.
What?
You think it's convicted to kill him right away?
The Gemara is about to say that you cannot. We're going to see in a couple of lines that if once the person gets convicted and is chayiv misa, boom, you have to kill him right away. Otherwise, it's called inei hadin. He's in such he's in such terror because he knows he's about to get killed. It's we would call it in America cruel and unusual punishment. That's not how we do it over here in America. Over here in America, they could pass somebody against an electric chair and he could be sitting in jail 20 years later. But in the Torah is telling us that the right thing to do is if a person is convicted of murder, convicted of a capital crime and gets killed, you have to kill him right away. But you can't kill him if you can't kill him on Shabbos. Ein Ritzicha derech Shabbos, derech Shabbos. Ritzicha is not derech Shabbos. Hold this thought because the whole Lamed Beis is going to be about this halacha of Ritzicha being derech Shabbos. V'liktele la'urta. So let's kill him at night on Matzah Shabbos. Neged Hashemesh b'inon. We already said that the Misa has to be Neged Hashemesh. Has to be in the day. So let's do the Gemara din on Shabbos. And kill him on Sunday. Like we said a minute ago, that's being Ma'anas Adin, that's delaying the judgment, and you're not allowed to do that. So let's say, okay, fine. Judge him on Friday. And if it turns out that everyone wants to be mechayev, then let's sleep on it over Shabbos, and then continue the din on Sunday.
So not killing, he doesn't know he's being killed yet. He may have a chance.
And Rashi says, as long as he feels like there's a chance, Rashi uses a lashon mitzapa la'atzala.
No decision was made yet.
It's an interesting psychological phenomenon. Rashi telling us it's not as painful when you have hope than when you have no hope. Right? A little hope is always better than no hope. So finish it on Sunday. Mara says you can't do that because Minshu Tamayu, they're going to forget the reasons of what they were handling on Friday. We said or Pater.
We said yesterday the whole thing is a different thing, right?
That what?
Overnight, Pater making high, you can't
That's switching. But we said that by the Gemara din, you could switch. But the Maisa, you need to know the reasons. So
only of guilt.
Yeah, but the Gemara, Gemara said even if you're the reasons of Torah you need to know, so you shouldn't have two people saying the same halacha from two different makaris. But the Gemara is saying besides that over here a different problem. Gemara says they're going to forget the reasons why they were either mechayev or paiter. And
what's going to happen Sunday?
But you should be asking me something better than you're asking me. You should ask me that Gemara we had yesterday was talking about the Yonim writing the reasons down, right?
Right, that's it.
Right. So how are they going to forget?
You should write it down.
Yeah. Track the Gemara. Zak the Gemara of Afal Gav. Even though the Shnei Sefer Yonim, even though it's true, like we said yesterday, that the two Sefer of the Yonim write down the reasons. This Yankel was mechayev because of X, and Beryl was pater because of Y, and Shmer. I say, how are they going to forget? And for the Gemara, Nehid b'Puma Kasvin, Liba the Inshi. Helkach le'afshir. It's true that they write down the reason the guy said, but the heart of the person, all the everything.
Emotion.
Not even the emotion. That doesn't mean that. It means the things behind the things. You say, Rabbi Goldberg, why are you mechayev? I'm mechayev because this halacha in Shulchan Aruch. But he was thinking before he said it. He was thinking about the Chalkas Mechayek and the Ezer Mechaydesh, and what about the Taisus in Sanhedrin and Ayitz Estira to Taisus in Gittin? Oh, but you could answer because Yehuda says like this. No, they're not writing all of it down. He says the bottom line is the Shulchan Aruch says as I. But all the little nitty gritties that he got to that they're not going to write down, and that people are going to forget. And then when they come open it up again on Sunday, he'll have forgotten some of those reasons, and he won't be able to as easily to come to the conclusion that he needs to come to, and therefore he'll go play after. Therefore, it's not possible, and therefore you have to start the din on Thursday. And when I was learning this before, I asked. I don't understand. We're learning the Mishnah. I don't understand, and I still don't understand the answer. So if you start on Thursday, what if the din takes 2 days? Right? So then you're going to have the same problem. Maybe on the second day, maybe on Friday, a dayan will come up with something negative. Right? And the answer probably is Ein L'Davar Seif. That's probably the answer. Ein L'Davar Seif. But you know if you start on Friday that you're going to run into a problem if you're Mechayev. Masha'en Kain, if you start on Thursday, you don't know that you're going to come into a problem, and therefore you start on Thursday.
You might rush up on Thursday.
Maybe.
You're going to Shabbos, don't say there's no.
Maybe. Okay, Zakmar Viter. Amalei Rish Lakish to Rabbi Yochanan. Rish Lakish says to Rabbi Yochanan, we're going to go on a total tangent over here, and we're going to come back. This doesn't have to do with our halachas, but we're going to come back. We're bringing this here, Rashi explains, because it's going to talk about the halacha of Mises Best and Deiches Shabbos. We said before, as a davar pashut, in Ritzicha Deiches Shabbos, to kill somebody because he did Ritzicha, because he did a avera of killing somebody else, you can't kill him on Shabbos, right? That's the halacha. And to us, it sounds pashut. You shouldn't be allowed to kill anybody, right? But the Gemara says that the Gemara over here is going to go a whole back and forth with this halacha. But before we come to that, we start somewhere totally different. Take for us mitzvah Deiches Shabbos b'kal v'chemer. Let's say l'chayra, he's saying he was speaking to Rabbi Yochanan. He said, let's say the following halacha. I want to tell you a halacha chiddush that burying a base mitzvah is Deiches Shabbos, and that means somebody's walking along the road on Shabbos and he sees a base mitzvah. The halacha is you have to bury the base mitzvah. Base mitzvah teifus mekanlei. The halacha is you don't bury him on Shabbos, but Rish Lakish says, I want to bring you a raya that from a Kal V'Chaimer, the Meis Mitzvah should be Deiches Shabbos. Or another case, the guy started burying the Meis Mitzvah on Friday and wants to continue into Shabbos because he's not finished. I'll bring you a raya from a Kal V'Chaimer that it's Deiches Shabbos.
What do you mean Meis Mitzvah Shabbos?
What?
Going to the Meis Mitzvah.
I think you stayed there. You stayed there and watched the you stayed there and watched the Bari, and I think, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong. So he says from a Kal V'Chaimer you could bury mitzvahs on Shabbos. Ma avoida shedeiches Shabbos, avoida in the Beis Hamikdash. You need to bring the carbon oila, the carbon tamid, let's say, or the carbon musaf on Shabbos. It's Deiches Shabbos. Kfuras meis mitzvah deichaisa, and kfuras meis mitzvah is deiche avoida, like we'll see in a second. So if kfuras meis mitzvah is deiche avoida, which is Deiches Shabbos, then kfuras meis mitzvah should be able to be Deiches Shabbos. Make sense? Now the Gemara will demonstrate how do you know that kfuras meis mitzvah is deicha avoida. Okay, there's two steps over here, right? Kfuras meis mitzvah is avoida is deicha Shabbos, and kfuras meis mitzvah is deicha avoida. So if kfuras meis mitzvah is deicha avoida and avoida is deicha Shabbos, then kfuras meis mitzvah should be deicha Shabbos, right? And now, how do you know that avoida is deicha Shabbos? How do you know that kfuras meis mitzvah is deicha avoida? Right? So that means that in a situation where you could have kfuras meis mitzvah, or you could do the avoida, you should do the kfuras meis mitzvah and not the avoida. Gemara says we learned this from a pasuk. This Gemara comes up a couple places in Shas. We already saw it according to the B'Zras Shas. We saw it on Brachas and Megillah and Nazir already. Okay. The Gemara says like this. Kedetanya we learned in the Brisa. The pasuk says by Nazir, Nazir is not allowed to become tamei to his father, to his mother, to his brother, to his sister. The problem is, and the Gemara says, what's this pasuk coming to tell you? The problem is like this. Before this pasuk that says that Nazir can't be mitamed, it says a different pasuk. It says al nefesh meis lo yavai. A Nazir is not allowed to become tamei to a nefesh meis. Period. Why does it have to say la'avli malach l'chaisai?
Maybe that you think he does.
But the pasuk already says al nefesh meis lo yavai. No meis, nothing. Yeah. So what's it coming to tell you? So the Brisa says a whole long arichas to explain what la'aviv is, and I'll say in a second what it is, what la'ima is, what la'achiv is, and then finally it says what la'achaisa is. Now our Gemara is talking about la'achaisa, but just to understand the context, the Gemara is saying like this. The pasuk says, it says la'aviv. What does it say aviv? Must be talking about that aviv you can't be matama to, like we said before. But who could you be matama to? Because it's saying again an aviv not, but we already know aviv not. So it must be. It's not coming to tell you aviv not. It's coming to tell you aviv not, but somebody else yes. So who is the somebody else yes? The somebody else is meis mitzvah. So the Brisa learns out that from la'aviv that a nazir can't be matama to his father, which we knew already, but he could be matama to a beis mitzvah. Exactly, he could be matama to a beis mitzvah.
The father can become Meis Mitzvah.
What?
His father could be a Meis Mitzvah. He's walking with
If his father is a Meis Mitzvah, he could be Matama to his father too. Yes, but we're talking about even if it's not his father. Now, if that's the case,
Koshkin, his father.
Koshkin. Well, no, the fact that he's his father is not a mile or a marriage. Because it says already, Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavai.
But unless it's Meis Mitzvah,
Unless it happens to be his father's the Meis Mitzvah. Right. Okay. So then why does it say Li'imai? Right? We already know Li'imai not. You'll tell me, come say Li'imai not, but Meis Mitzvah yes. We already know Meis Mitzvah yes from Aviv. Right? So the Gemara says that Imei is coming to tell you that even if this Nazir was also a Kayin, so there's two reasons why he shouldn't be Matama to Meis Mitzvah. He's Kadosh Alts Nazir, he's Kadosh Alts Kayin, right? So you'd think for sure even a Meis Mitzvah shouldn't be Matama. No, Li'ima he's not Matama to, but a Meis Mitzvah he is Matama to. So it teaches you a Nazir who's a Kayin could be Matama to Meis Mitzvah. Then what does it say La'achiv? But Gemara says it's coming to tell you that if he's a Nazir who's a Kayin, but not a plain Kayin, he's a Kayin Gadol.
Nobody.
Huh? He's not allowed to be time to anyone. He's really Chomer. He's got three reasons, three of Kedushas on him. Kayin Gadol is never allowed to be time to anyone, except the Meis Mitzvah. Forever, right. So the pasuk says, it's telling you that even so, la'achiv he's not allowed to be mitama, but l'meis mitzvah he could be mitama. Okay, fine. So now we know that if his worse than a kain gadol nazir, he still can be mitama to meis mitzvah. Then the pasuk says la'chaisai, right? What's la'chaisai? So let's go back to the Gemara. Second line from the bottom. La'chaisai. Now it's our fourth pasuk over here. What's it coming to teach us? Matam learn what's it coming to tell us? A totally different case. Somebody who's going on his way to do a big chashva mitzvah of shechting his carbon pesach, which is a chayvei krisos or lam lesbenai. If a person's not malasan, it's also chayvei krisos, and he has to do that. V'shama shemes lemeis, and he hears that somebody was nifter. So Yachal Yitama, maybe he should be Mitama. Amret Lo Yitama, he can't be Mitama. Why? Because he's a Nazir. We're still talking about the Nazir over here. Yachal Kashem Sheina Mitama Lachoise Kachine Mitama Leis Mitzvah. So you would think this guy who's going he can't be Mitama to his sister, but maybe he can be Mitama so maybe he can't be Mitama to Meis Mitzvah either, right? Because he's a Nazir who is a Kayin who's going to be do Lishchet as Peschai, right? So he's not Mitama to Meis Mitzvah. Tamalayim or lachoisa who didn't mitama. He's not mitama to his karev, to his sister. Now mitama lemeis mitzvah, he's mitama to meis mitzvah. So here you see that meis mitzvah is daicha avoda, right? So this that we said before, you see meis mitzvah. Is the avoda Shabbos and idechs and play avoda Shabbos, which is pushed away because of avoda. In a din should take kvuras mitzvah. So you see for sure kvuras mitzvah should be deicha Shabbos. So now you have this is the kavachimer. Let us be matir to bury a meis mitzvah on Shabbos from this double kavachimer over here. Avoda is deicha Shabbos. And meis mitzvah is deicha avoda. So for sure, meis mitzvah is deicha Shabbos. Okay. So this is what Reish Lakish said to Rabbi Yochanan. He came to Rabbi Yochanan and said, "I want to say a chiddush. This is the chiddush." Amar lei, Rabbi Yochanan said back to Reish Lakish, "Ritzicha techiach. Ritzicha is a rayanat." Ritzicha means, like the case we said before, that someone did Ritzicha, and you have to go and kill him as an einish. Ritzicha techiach, Ritzicha is techiach, shedeches avoda, it pushes away the avoda, the eina deches a Shabbos, and it's not deicha Shabbos. What's the case? The pasuk says, mi'im mizbechi tikechenu lamos, Kayin, who was about to do the avodah, is in the Beis HaMikdash, and he was chayiv misa. The Kayin, for whatever reason, right? You bring him to Bezdin even from the Mizbeach, But the pasuk says me'im mizbechi, from with the mizbeach.
No pardons.
Not me'al hamizbeach.
Once he's on the mizbeach.
Once he's on the mizbeach doing the avodah, you don't stop him in the middle. So you see Ritzicha. I'm sorry. So from the first half, you see he's about to do the avodah. He's not in the middle of the avodah yet, but he needs to go be called out to Bezdin for einish for his avera. So it's deicha avodah. We don't say he does the avodah, right? So Ritzicha techiach. Ritzicha shedeiches avodah is deicha avodah. Ve'ena deiches Shabbos, and it's not deicha Shabbos. Because you can't kill somebody, Bezdin can't paskin to kill somebody on Shabbos, like we said before. Now we see why we're bringing this Gemara in, because that's to do with the Gemara in Amar Aleph. So Rabbi Yechon is saying to Reish Lakish, you wanted to say a Kal V'Chomer, that you must be that Shabbos is more Kal than Beis Mitzvah. How? Because Shabbos is more kal than avodah. Avodah is more chamer than that. You avodah. You could do avodah on Shabbos, but you cannot. Avodah is more chamer than Shabbos. You do avodah on Shabbos, and Meis Mitzvah is well, that was exactly what I was trying to prove. And Meis Mitzvah is doicha and Meis Mitzvah is doicha avodah. So you see, Meis Mitzvah is more chamer than avodah. So avodah is more chamer than Shabbos, and Meis Mitzvah is more chamer than avodah. So you see that a Meis Mitzvah is more chamer than Shabbos, and you could bury Meis Mitzvah on Shabbos. That's what Gemara's having. Reish Rechon is saying back, no. You see that Ritzicha is more chamer than avodah, and it's still not chamer enough as chamer as Shabbos. Because you don't do Ritzicha, you don't judge somebody for Misa on Shabbos. You don't kill somebody at the penalty of death on Shabbos. So you see that you have something that Shabbos is more chamer than it. So always when you have something that's the only way you can make a kal v'chomer is if this is kal and this is chamer and it's complete. This is completely kal, this is completely chamer. But if one of them is mixed, has a kula and a chumrah, then you say you can't do a kal v'chomer because you say maybe the reason why you have this halacha you can't learn out the halacha A from B because it has a different chumrah that makes it not a kal v'chomer. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan said this as a davar pashat, and Ritzicha is not Deicha Shabbos. Frak the Gemara is asking on Rabbi Yochanan's assumption. Frak the Gemara. Ritzicha gufatit Ches Shabbos. Let's say that Ritzicha itself, the halacha is you should be able to. The halacha should be that you could kill somebody on Shabbos. Bezdin should kill somebody on Shabbos. Kal v'chomer from a kal v'chomer. What's the kal v'chomer? Ma avodah shedei Ches Shabbos. We know avodah is deicha Shabbos. Ritzicha deicha isa. Ritzicha says me'im mizbechit tichen olamos. You take the kain out of the Beis Hamikdash to Bezdin. Shneimar me'im mizbechit tichen olamos. Shabbos shenidechas b'nei avodah. Shabbos, which is more kal than avodah. Avodah is more chamer than Shabbos. In a din shnei ritzicha deicha isa. So for sure, ritzicha, which we already said is more chamer than avodah, should be deicha Shabbos. So from this, you should say that you should be allowed to, Bezdin should be allowed to kill somebody on Shabbos if they're chayiv misa. Unlike our Rabbi Yochanan's Milsnei Pshita, and unlike the Milsnei Pshita that our Gemara said on Amar Aleph. Amar Rava says, Kar Paska Tanad B'Rishmael. The Tanad B'Rishmael already paskined that Ritzicha is not Deicha Shabbos. And now the Gemara is going to go on another tangent to explain how we learn from Tanad B'Rishmael that Ritzicha is not Deicha Shabbos. We're going to go a little bit into Shabbos over here. The Tanad B'Rishmael learned in the yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel. Le'sivaru eish. It says the pasuk le'sivaru eish b'chol mashv'seichem b'yom Shabbos. You're not allowed to burn a fire on Shabbos in all your mashv'seichem, your neighborhoods, your communities. dwellings. Okay. Matam Lemer. What's it coming to teach us? Now the Gemara jumps on the kasha. Matam Lemer? What do you mean? This is a famous cloud we have in Kalatar, Kul Ula Rashas. Rashi says it on the pasuk. Matam Lemer, Ilu Rabbi Yasi L'Lavyatzis, and Rabbi Nasan L'Chalketzis. It's a famous machlekes. If it's this L'Svaresh is L'Lavyatzis or L'Chalketzis. What does this mean? Ketani, we learned in the Brisa. Havara L'Lavyatzis, Rabbi Yasi. Rabbi Yasi says Havara is L'Lavyatzis. I'll explain in a second what that means. Rabbi Nasan L'Chalketzis. It's coming L'Chalek. What does these two things mean? But even before we say what it means, the Gemara is saying, what do you mean Matam Lemer? We know what this is. What is the L'Lavyatzis? What is the Chalketzis? It's a machlekes. It's like this. Which malacha does the Torah say on Shabbos? Does it say charisha? Does it say zriya? No. Does it say haitzah? No. Does it say makam pamatish? No. It doesn't say any of these. We learn out the 39 halachas from the avos malachas, from the things that they had to do in the Mishkan for the avodas Mishkan, right? Except for one. It says it says havara. Why does the Torah specify Havara and not specify the other 38 avos malachas? So it's machlekes Rabbi Yasi and Rabbi Nasan. Rabbi Yasi says that Havara is the lav yatzitz. Rabbi Yasi says that it's to tell you that Havara is only a lav. Everything else is karas or skila if you did it amazing. But Havara, for whatever reason, is less chamer. It's only a lav. That's why the Torah says separately to tell you a separate halach about Havara. And Rav Nasan says no, it's the chalak yatzis. It's the chalak to tell you that each, just like Havara is its own thing, so too all the other 38 avos malachas are its own thing. Because what happens if a person does an av and it's tolda? A person does charisha with a plow, what?
What's he mechuyev?
What's he mechuyev? He does it in one hela.
Only big one.
So he does av and its own tolda, he's only going to be chayiv one. Because that's one avera family, right? The Havamina, the Gemara is, according to Rabbi Nasan, if not the Havamina Gemara, the Pasuk's Havamina, so to speak, is that the Pasuk wouldn't have said the Svaru Eish, we would have said all 39 malachas are like one Avera. And a person does Charisha and Zriya and Ktira and Makam Patish and Eitzah, all in one Helam, he's only chayiv one Chatas, because it's one Avera. Therefore, the Torah says, Havara, L'chalik Yatzis, the Torah specified Havara to tell you, just like Havara is its own thing, so too, all the other 38 avos malachas are their own thing. And if a person did two avos in one halam, he's going to be chayiv two chatayis, right? That's the chalakatzis. So Gemara is saying,
why would they pick out the one to make the
that's a very good question. I don't know the answer. It's a good question. And also don't know the answer, and I've had this trouble before learning this Gemara in other places. Why is it, according to Rab Yasi, the lav yatzis, that Havara is only a lav, and the other 38 avos malachas are not chayiv chatas or skila? Why is Havara less chamer than the rest? I don't know the answer to that either, according to Rab Yasi. But
we're talking about it.
I'm sure they talk about it. I just don't know the answer. So the Gemara says, so the Gemara says, we don't understand. What were they asking? Matam alaymer, tan berishma, lesvaresh matam alaymer. What's the question? El Amaravas, Rav says, this is what the question was. Tana, the Tana of Tanadei Rabbi Shmuel, Meishavas Kashalei. He didn't understand what the pasuk, when it says, Lesvaresh b'chol meishvei seichem, in all your communities, what does that mean? What does that mean? Meishavas matam lemer. What does say Meishavas? And Rashi explains that usually when Torah tells us halacha is in meishvei seichem, in all your meishavas, then that's talking about even in Chutz La'aretz. Because usually something that's totally in Karka, we assume that it's only in Eretz Yisrael, unless the Torah tells us specifically that it's Chutz La'aretz also. Torah says that Shemitah, says the halach of Shemitah. It's not in Chutz La'aretz, because the Torah doesn't say anywhere that it's all over. So usually when it says Moshe Seichem, it's B'chol Moshe Seichem, it's coming to tell you it's in Chutz La'aretz and Eretz Yisrael. Right? So, frak the Gemara, Tana Moshavas Kakashalei. Moshavas Matam Lemer. What's Moshavas coming to tell you? Nechti, Shabbos Chavis Agufi. Shabbos is a Chiva Guf. Shabbos has nothing to do with Karka. The Svar Roish nothing to do with Karka. The Chavis Aguf, Nehegas Mem Baratz Mem Chutz La'aretz. And the Chavis Aguf is wherever it is. The Torah doesn't have to tell you, Lo Yisertzach, you're not allowed to kill, in Chutz La'aretz and in Eretz Yisrael. You don't have to say that because it's a chayvus aguf. You are not allowed to kill. Wherever you are, you're not allowed to kill. So if the Torah is saying Shabbos, the Sevar Reish Poma Shvei Seichem, we know you're not allowed to burn a fire wherever you are. On Shabbos. Wherever you are, you're not allowed to burn a fire. If so, what does the Torah have to say? To tell you, Chutz La'aretz, it sounds like it's saying Chutz La'aretz is all over. Shabbos is all over, even Chutz La'aretz. It doesn't have to tell you that. Rabbi Shmuel, Amar Talmud Echad. So in the name of Rabbi Shmuel, this Talmud said, by Tanat Beir Shmuel, the Shiva of Rabbi Shmuel, Lefi Shenemar, because of a different pasuk. It says when a person has a chet mishpat maves, he's chayiv misa, v'humas bezdin has to kill him. So I would think I would think that bezdin has to kill him, whether it's the weekday, whether it's Shabbos, because the Torah says v'humas kill him. Period. Whenever it is. We have a pasuk that says someone who's mechal Shabbos gets misa. I would say b'shar malachas chutz misas bezdin. I would say that that's coming to tell us all malachas b'chayim misan except for misas bezdin. It's a special thing when the Rebbeinu Shalom says bezdin has to kill somebody. They kill somebody even on Shabbos. It could be such a thing, right? Just like we say, I don't know, Sakanas Nefashis Derech Shabbos. Maybe this is also Derech Shabbos. Zok the Gemara. So you can say clear the other way. So that's why. And this side of the Gemara says that's why it has to say a pasuk to tell you. B'chol Moshe Seichem that
on Shabbos is also.
Yeah, because we're learning Loisvaru Eish. It's a liman. One of the misas bezdin is Sreifa, right? So don't do Sreifa even for misas bezdin on Shabbos, right? It means don't do misas bezdin on Shabbos. Zok the Gemara Yenel Afilu misas bezdin. Maybe it's coming to tell you that even misas bezdin is included in Chil Shabbos, and you're not allowed to do misas bezdin. Maybe even misas bezdin is included in Chil Mechala Ma'isumas. You're not allowed to be Mechal Shabbos even from misas bezdin. The pasuk says v'humas b'chol v'lei b'Shabbos. V'humas tells you that you get killed, and on only bezdin can only kill on the weekday and not on Shabbos, because you could say that Kvuras mis. Okay, this gets a little complicated, and it's perfect timing because it's time for Ma'ariv. So let's pick this up in Mitzvah Shem tomorrow. And I do understand.